खुदा खुदा.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello and welcome to CricketOMania. With me, Ayaz Memon. The question that we are asking today, a 19-member contingent is going to go to Australia to play in the 4-match test series against that country. Is that justified? Is it necessary? Sign of fear, concern, apprehension? What is it?
A lot of those. Actually, I think it's been inspired by the expansion of the cabinet at the center. This is a jumbo team.
Yes.
A 19-member team is highly unusual.
Yeah.
Usually, a test team going overseas takes about 16 members.
Yeah.
Occasionally, a 17th member as a cover up to somebody who may be injured or unwell and say, okay, fine, there's a backup available. Because you don't need so many players in today's day and age.
Right.
You can always fly in a person.
Yeah. So if I've got it right, and you must correct me, 3 spinners, 3 wicket-keeper batsmen, 5 fast bowlers, and 8 frontline batsmen.
That's
roughly.
True. So 8 bowlers, 8 batsmen, and 3 wicket-keeper batsmen.
Correct. Yeah.
Of whom one of them, to be upfront, is that Naman Ojha is there only for the first test because Dhoni is not going to play the first test. So he might come back.
And that's the interesting thing. Since you mentioned Naman Ojha, we've got new names and new faces.
Yes.
Right? We've got KL Rahul, we've got Karan Sharma, Suresh Raina coming in.
Yes. I think that, overall the selection is very good.
Yeah.
Barring...
So you're happy with that?
I'm happy with the selection, barring, the fact that the oldies have been overlooked. Sehwag, Harbhajan, Zahir. So an era is coming to an end in that sense.
And many of them are going to be in the commentary box.
They're going to be in the commentary box. They'll be playing domestic cricket. What I mean is that they're not retired. They were there, but they've been overlooked. So there's clearly a shift.
So Rahul Dravid will, of course, he was not going to play, but Rahul Dravid is going to be in the box, as I understand.
Rahul Dravid, perhaps Saurav Ganguly.
Yeah.
So,
so all the oldies who played against Australia were, as you said,
they're part of the media team now. They've been doing commentary. But I think the two selections which excite me are KL Rahul and Karan Sharma.
Okay.
Rahul is 22 years old. He's made a lot of runs.
Right.
He's got a great start this season. He's made 200s in the same match in the Duleep Trophy final.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about this a little more. We've got Chandresh Narayanan also joining us. Chandresh, what's your sense? How do you see this jumbo team as it is about to embark on the 21st to Australia?
I think we're forgetting 2 players who are already traveling with the Prime Minister next week, Sunil Gavaskar and Kapil Dev. So in effect, we are 21 people already. But I think it's a good selection, and I agree with Mr. Memon that the selection per se, there's no issue. But I just think that the 18 players are going to be there. I think it's appropriate that they have that kind of options available with the side, because in Australia and England, we don't get net bowlers that easily. I think that might be one of the issue why they're taking a couple of the bowlers who may not actually get to play any of the matches. Remember, we're playing just 2 practice matches and then all the 4 test matches back to back. So I think basically to keep the test regulars fresh, they are taking such a jumbo squad to ensure that the test batsmen get some kind of a hit. And also, it's quite a change for Indian cricket, because I was just reading Kapil Dev's book from '86, where he writes about how he was pleading with the board to send in a couple of new players to play a one-day tri-series in Australia in '85-86, and the board refused because they didn't have the money. So it shows how much the BCCI has also improved over the years financially to be able to send 18 players over and above the 2 players.
They can afford more.
Clearly, financial clout matters, because the extra players, normally you would have a 16-member party which the host country accommodates. That's the terms of endearment. You can send 30 people, but you have to do it at your cost.
Correct. Yeah.
So logistically, the BCCI's cloud, financial cloud, is showing through.
Navneeth, joining us from Hyderabad, what's your sense? How do you see this, the team and the composition, the new guys coming in, and of course the size itself?
In terms of the selection, I'm absolutely on the same page with what Ayaz said. I think the team on paper definitely looks like a good team. My only worry is this also giving an indication on whether we're well prepared in terms of what our strategy is going to be for the test series. Having more options is good, but does that also give a sense of I'm not too sure who to go with, so I still have a little bit of doubt.
And that's the question. And that's the question we're asking. So, Ayaz, is there a seed of doubt, about many seeds of doubt about whether are we sort of trying to put more eggs in the basket because we don't know which one might break?
Well, it might seem so, but you know what happened last time when I was there, 2011-12, we lost the series 0-4, and by the second test, it was clear that India was running out of options. Nobody looked to be in form. Not one player. I mean, Virat Kohli made some runs towards the end of the tour. Otherwise, it was, a complete disaster, batting wise and bowling wise. Now you've got more people. I think the composition of the team is something which excites me. Not, you may have 19, but ultimately only 11 play.
Right.
You've got 5 fast bowlers, of whom 2 are genuinely quick. Umesh Yadav and Varun Aaron. Both are injury prone. That's the problem. But both are, 145 plus. You got Karan Sharma, a wrist spinner, which is very exciting to watch because those kind of pitches bounce and pace, and he's a strong young lad, good shoulders, so he might be able to get the kind of fizz of the wicket which you need. You've got 8 batsmen, and the onus is on them. Only 5 or 6 may play, so you have to score the runs. And you've got, as I mentioned, 2 or 3 wicket-keeper batsmen who need to kind of only one of them can play. Right. So the composition is right. It's just that all of them may not have enough chance to prove their credentials to get into the test team. That's always a limitation when you're playing back-to-back test matches.
Correct. And of course, Dhoni is not playing the first match, and Kohli will stand in. Yeah. Let's ask the other question now. If you were to look at the lessons of the recent encounter in England and everything that went wrong and the few things that went right, are we taking those lessons forward to this match in any way? Are you getting a sense?
I think you see a couple of good things that they've done. They've taken current form of some of these players like Naman Ojha, like Umesh Yadav. They had gone to Australia only recently with the India A team, right, and done well there. Naman Ojha as a batsman, not just as a wicket keeper. So they've given due credit to current form. I think they've given due credit to Suresh Raina's current form because it seemed that he had become a limited over specialist, but he's been brought back into the test team. And here I think the influence of Ravi Shastri as a cricket director has prevailed on the selectors, because he was very, when I spoke to him last, he said a man in this kind of form, if you leave him out, it's a travesty. He's a brilliant fielder, he's an occasional bowler, and he's batting like a dream. Now, this is the last chance for Raina to prove himself as a test player, but that's besides the point. So that's really added to the numbers. The problem, the headache for Dhoni and Fletcher is going to be who to keep out rather than take in. Because
let's touch upon that in a moment. Here's a comment from Prabhakar. He says they've left out Rayudu, who plays the short ball well. Why an additional opener?
So I think that they've taken somebody a little more solid, seemingly, and young, untried at the international level, which is KL Rahul as an opening batsman. So and Rayudu is not a test match opening batsman, certainly. So I don't think that they've done any. They've got Murli Vijay, they've got Shikhar Dhawan, and they've got Rahul as a backup, which I think is a good enough combination to have.
Okay, so now let's look at what this thing could be. And Chandresh, let me come back to you. What's your? How would you pick your team? I mean, as Ayaz pointed out, eventually 11 will play, and will they be shuffled around during the series? And I guess they would be. But what could be an ideal or an optimum combination?
I think one thing's for sure, India is not going to be playing 5 regular bowlers in Australia like they tried to do in England. So you could end up having 3 fast bowlers and a spinner. And this is where I think someone like Rahul Dravid has pitched for Karan Sharma to be played ahead of Ravindra Jadeja or even Ravichandran Ashwin. I think if India was to look at an attacking option, they would probably have to look at either Karan Sharma or Ravichandran Ashwin as one of the specialist spinners in the starting lineup. The other problem that India will have is that, like Mr. Memon said, if we lose or if we start off slowly, there's not much opportunity for anybody to come back into the series, in the sense that you saw with Gambhir, he played a match after a month and he looked all at sea against the Englishman. So I think that's something that we need to be worried about as well. And I think more than looking at the squad as a number, I think we need to look at the investment that we are likely to make in people like Karan Sharma and some of the quicks and KL Rahul. They all may not get to play, but they are an investment. You know, England, when they travel, they carry an England Lions squad to play matches in the same country. We don't get that opportunity because we're in the same season. So I think the next best thing is to have this kind of a squad.
Okay. Navneeth, what's your squad looking like?
Sorry,
yeah, Navneeth, so the question was, I mean, what's your, I mean, who would you surely want in, and you know, I mean, who should, I mean, and obviously those should include new faces as well.
Yeah, I would go with a similar composition as well, with 5 batsmen, the top 6 batsmen, including Dhoni as number 7, and 4 bowlers, that being 3 seamers, and with Karan Sharma. Definitely interesting to see how Karan Sharma will go in Australia. But on the whole, I think my gut feeling says that Rahul will obviously be a standby, depending on how Dhawan and Vijay go. It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Okay. Ayaz?
Yeah, I mean, look, Rahul is not your first choice opening batsman as of now, but this is a long season. A tour of Australia is never easy. 4 test matches, you know, you might find a lot of reputations dented, some careers overturned.
As Chandresh was saying,
and you know, some careers being made. I mean, Virat Kohli became a different player after scoring 100 in Australia in a test match. So he's come back, he came back from Australia as a frontline batsman, and now he's your best batsman in many ways. So it can happen with, you know, maybe KL Rahul now. Maybe Suresh Raina gets the kiss of life in his test career. We don't know. Number 6, I mean, you'll have 6 batsmen, Dhoni, plus 4 bowlers. I agree with the composition. 3 fast bowlers, you'll probably play, except maybe Adelaide, where you might play 2 spinners. But otherwise,
and where we are going back after 11 years.
Yes.
Am I right?
No, Adelaide we played the last time.
Okay.
But we're going back to Brisbane.
Yeah.
So we haven't played the first test matches in Brisbane
for a long time.
For a long time, we haven't played there.
Okay. So, assuming, let's say, the composition is somewhat right and we are all happy with it, what's the other things that we should be concerned about or watching out for? Again, keeping England somewhere in the background.
No, I think really it's about getting, you see, ultimately you win matches by taking 20 wickets of the opposition. So our batting flopped very badly in England, like it did in Australia before that and in England in 2011. But also the bowlers, sometimes you get a score of 250, 270, your batsman may not click. But if you've got the bowling attack, which can keep you in the game, then you always have a chance. But if your bowlers are incapable of taking only 10 wickets in 2 innings, you are hardly ever going to win overseas. In India, you can with your 3 spinners and doctored pitches. So I think the real test for me here is of your bowlers. In 2011, when we went there after the World Cup win and, you know, number 1 team, in the first match, first session, Zahir Khan broke down, and there went your series. You never looked capable of bowling England out after that. In Australia, again, till the first, second match, Zahir was looking okay, and then he fizzled out again. So you can't depend only on one bowler. You need a bowling attack. You have the making of a good bowling attack here. Some of them are untested, like Karan Sharma. Some have not performed well overseas, like Ashwin and Jadeja. And the fast bowlers looks like an entirely new lot. So there's a lot vested in the bowling attack.
And the next logical question that follows is obviously, so how's the other side in contrast to all of this?
The other side has been rogered by Pakistan lately.
Yeah.
But that was in the UAE.
Yeah.
At home, Australia have looked very, very strong. So
but they also have young people and new faces.
All teams internationally today are going through this churn.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, you know, I mean, even England had 7 newcomers when they beat us. Just 4 old, you know, regular guys. So Australia have been through a churn also. They are smart. I think they are a little vulnerable now because you don't like to lose with such hefty margins. You know, there's always pressure on the captain, on the players to come good, and you're playing at home. People are watching you more closely. I think this is the time. But if India don't get at them in the first couple of test matches, then I'm afraid that we might be on the back foot for the remainder of the series.
Okay, so you're saying use the attack,
attackers
well, and make sure they are at their best in the first.
I think what's happened with India, certainly in test matches, is that their staying powers for a 5-day format has become questionable.
Okay.
We are losing in 3 days.
Okay.
You know, it's just not enough depth and staying maybe for various
So is it
reasons.
attack or stamina then?
I think it's about concentration.
Yeah.
And the willingness to stay there. People say it's because of too much T20 and IPL.
Right. And
but
we discussed that,
it could be, it could be, but it's not affecting the other teams.
Correct. Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay. Chandresh, let me come back to you. So what's your sense? I mean, if you were to now contrast India versus the other side, which also has new faces, are we kind of better? Are we evenly poised? And do you agree with Ayaz that, you know, it's really the first few days that will matter and the first few tests that will matter?
I agree with Mr. Memon over there. I think what's going to be the key for us in Australia, like on the previous tours, is going to be the slip catching, because we've seen that we dropped a number of chances in England, and it's the catching that does the difference in the end. England have been wiped off 5-0 twice, and it's all because they missed opportunities early on. Pakistan, even with their very brilliant attack in the 90s, struggled in Australia because of the catching. So I think I am really going to be looking at how we field in Australia, especially in the slip, because there's going to be a lot of catching in the slip during the test series. If we get that right, I think we have the opportunity after about 7-8 years to really come hard at Australia, because I think this is a young side which has a lot to prove in Australia. I would be really surprised if they do not do well compared to the side that went to Australia in 2011-12.
Okay, right.
I think if we start off well on the first day, then that will set the tone for the rest of the series. Like Mr. Memon said, Zahir Khan breaking down on the first day of a series didn't help matters in 2011. But this time around, there's a young side, but there are a lot of question marks about the fitness levels of Varun Aram, Mohammad Shami, and Ishant Sharma. All three are currently battling injuries, and we don't know enough.
Right.
Actually,
and
are fit enough to play the first test match at Brisbane.
Right. Okay. Navneeth, from you, if you were to look at it competitively, I mean, what in your mind should be topmost on the players' minds in the first test and the first few days?
In my opinion, I definitely feel it's the top order's contribution. That is Dhawan, Vijay, Pujara, and Kohli. Very often, when our top order is taken out for very little, there's way too much pressure on our middle order and the low, and automatically there's a psychological advantage the other team has, and the bowlers are under pressure. And if we can grab our opportunities up front with our top order contributing in the first test, I think it's definitely a morale booster for the rest of the team as well.
Right. Okay. So as there we have it, aggressive start, use an attack kind of philosophy, which of course is not new, but keeping in mind that the opposing team is also perhaps planning the same thing.
Of course, I think the Australians are naturally aggressive. That's the ethos of their cricket. In fact, the Indian ethos used to be defensive, try and avoid defeat rather than go out and win. I think that shift needs to. When Dhoni first became captain, that was the shift we saw. He was naturally aggressive. Then somehow he seems to have settled into a slightly more measured and cautious approach, which I think is not working out too well. So obviously a captain is as good as the players that he has under him. Now this is almost entirely Dhoni's team. There's no remnants from the past. So now there's you're not carrying any baggage. You don't have old legs and old lungs, weary legs and weary lungs. You say they can't. These are all young guys. You have to go out there and prove a point. I think India are languishing. They are now number 6 in the rankings from number 1 in 2011.
So there's a lot riding on this.
There's a lot riding.
And really, that brings me to my last question. And let me start with Chandresh first, and I'm going to come back to you for the last word. Chandresh, is this the make or break series?
I think, yeah, in many ways, this is the make or break series, because remember the ICC rankings works in a way that whatever you do now in the upcoming series will count for at least 2 more years. So if they do well now, it will be handy for them in the coming couple of years to ensure that they stay on in the top 4 or top 3. And also, I think this is the most opportune moment to hit hard at Australia, because remember their opener Chris Rogers was not in good form in UAE. Brad Haddin has a lot of question marks over his fitness. Michael Clarke is not at his most fittest, and also you find that someone like a Shane Watson is coming back, and his relationship with Michael Clarke is not really the best. I think we need to make most of this window of opportunity that we are getting. Obviously, Mitchell Johnson's going to be the obvious worry, but I sense an opportune moment for Indian cricket over here to turn a corner in Australia.
Got it. Right. So Ayaz, make or break?
Yeah, I think, look, make or break, at least in the
former
short.
ICC man says yes.
Yeah, I mean, make or break in the sense it's a continuum. Cricket will continue to be played, so that's fine. I think it's very important that you fare well. India fares well in the series, because immediately after that is going to be the Tri-Series and then followed by the World Cup, all in Australia. If you get a licking, if you get a hiding, then you're mentally down. And it's the revival. I mean, it can happen. This is a sport. It's a different format, but it becomes tougher and tougher. And players get insecure. Whether it's expressed overtly or not, blame games start. The selectors are under pressure. All kinds of things happen. So if the Indian team fares well in the Test series, then I think they'll be going into the latter half of the summer in a far better frame of mind, which has the World Cup.
Right, and to some extent, we're all going to be watching Dhoni for the reason you just pointed out, that he seems to have settled into a classic defensive mode, which is what most Indian teams are. But here's the opportunity to actually become more attacking.
He's also in his 7th year as captain, and he also realizes the time is running out for him as a Test player, as a Test captain. Maybe he'll give up one of the formats after the World Cup. We'll have to wait and see which format it is. And he would want to finish. When he became Test captain from 2008 to 2011, India was only rising, and then India was only slumping as a Test team. So I'm sure he wants a course correction there somewhere.
And as what's the one thing that you will be looking out for from this series?
I would actually
one player who's not perhaps in this.
I mean, obviously you look at players like Cheteshwar Pujara and Virat Kohli. They are young, they're established. Are they going to become the great players that you want? If they do well in Australia, they'll take a quantum leap there. I'm very excited about KL Rahul actually, and I hope he gets a chance, because whatever I've seen of him last season in domestic cricket and a little bit now, he is, he looks really a great talent for the future.
Right, and that's really a good note to end on, that we have some new talent coming up in the series going to Australia. A 19-member team, a jumbo cabinet, as Ayaz pointed out, but something that we would look forward to: new faces, new game, a chance to get back into the attack mode and do well for the country. Thank you very much, Ayaz. Thank you, Chandresh and Navneeth. We'll be back on CricketOMania later this week. Thanks for watching.